Good morning. Frank Watson here with another edition of Poof. This is Poof 042424. And I'm expecting in a few minutes to be joined by Tom Probasco and John Lowe. Tom is a poet, harmonica player, and retired librarian. John Lowe has been a saxophone player, a college instructor, and Episcopal priest, and is currently a Catholic layman. We discuss whatever we get ready to discuss. Digital media. Oh, and I see John Lowe is here. Hi, sis.
Hi. Done with your broadcasting?
How you doing, Frank?
Okay. How are you?
Got through.
I have certain phone calls that I have to take, and I was just explaining to people that we talk about digital media and how to use it, consumer level technology to hold the kind of conversations that social media by itself doesn't give us the kind of connectedness that conversations in real time can give us. It's not the same thing as being there, but it's better than nothing. So, and talking about some of the different things that we do discuss. And I don't know, can you remember some of the subjects we've covered so far?
Is Tom's not with us today?
Well, I think he's going to join us. We're a little ahead of this. Yeah, there he is right now.
Tom?
Here he comes. I just admitted him. So. So here comes our poet, harmonica player, retired librarian.
Tom, I'd like to hear you play the harmonica sometime.
I think he's still trying to
get in.
We are in the process as we go, trying to learn how to negotiate some of this Zoom and modern technologies, the newer technologies, and then trying to remember what we learned. So for those of you who find us on social media, I will be posting first to YouTube. And I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Acoustic Indiana. And don't, if you're interested in what we're doing here, or just interested in hanging out for 30 or 40 minutes with a conversation among friends, it's also possible that you might join us on Zoom sometime.
There we go. There's Tom.
Yeah,
Oh, Tom,
hi there. Yeah, my connection was real slow this morning. Don't know why, but yeah, here I am. Hi.
I was just remarking, I would like to hear you play this harmonica sometime.
Oh, well, Frank, I guess we could. It doesn't work real well on instruments. Don't work real well on Zoom, do they?
Maybe not.
what we, well, what we're talking, somewhere along the line, we were playing music on a regular basis, and then I just got overwhelmed, John. My wife has a fairly extreme memory loss, as you know, and uh, and I'm trying to get our lives arranged so that uh, so that we can deal with that and whatever else life throws at us. And she has 7 kids, and each of them wants an explanation of the changes that I'm making, but they don't want to listen to me give it.
That's not good.
And they don't want to read about it. So, um, I have my hands full there, and I have learned so much about what's called dementia. Uh, my wife Barbara's diagnosis is vascular dementia. She was diagnosed in 2015 at the age of 80, and IU Health information is that if you're diagnosed at the age of 80, your average life expectancy is 5 years to 10 years. So she's at 9 years now. And she's doing pretty well. Her memory is not so hot, but we have a good time. We have great conversations. Sometimes we have to circle and repeat information because she doesn't remember it all the way through the conversation. We enjoy watching videos, and she's physically in better health in many ways than I am. But that's just one of the things that we talk about here. And Tom, when we do get a chance to get together in person, what we need to do is plan on playing a little bit of music and
Yeah.
inviting John to join us, and
Yes.
that
Yeah.
way he can hear the harmonica, and we'll turn our visit into a little bit of a party.
That sounds good to me.
Well, that sounds good to me. I've been well. Let's go back. I have been doing a lot of reading and watching a lot of videos having to do with life expectancy and quality of life. And there was a TED talk that really struck home for me, and it in the blue zones, the zones of greatest uh, life expectancy.
I saw that.
Yeah, the study that they did showed that the most important factor was not exercise or diet. It wasn't vaccines. All of the list of things that you might look for. At the top, it wasn't quitting smoking. Um, it wasn't even if you'd had a heart attack. At the top of the list was social interaction with extended family and people that you see on a regular basis, on a daily basis. And that really, I think, has the potential to extend life and quality of life, even in regards to dementia. It may not prevent dementia, but it can slow the development of it and prevent some of the bad effects of it. So I'm I'm really I'm working on that. I'm thinking about that here at Sycamore. Where I live, I have started 2 musical groups, one for hymn singing and one for secular songs. Hymns meets on Wednesday at 6:15, and the secular songs, hymns meet on Sunday at 6:15, secular songs on Wednesday at 6:15. So that's 2 times a week we meet with people and sing. And singing is also a very powerful way of accessing memory. And so you get both the social interaction and the memory. And but Barbara is a person who really the people that she really wants to be with are her children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, me. There's just a few people. Old friends are important, but I think that we need our situation to include daily contact with extended family, and I think that has good potential. And so I'm working on increasing that and making that happen. And and in the meantime, it's very important that when Barbara's been sleeping a lot, and I've been following information on sleep, and I saw recently that sleeping a great deal may actually be beneficial to older people. So okay, I don't want to interfere with her sleep, but if Carrie, her daughter, arrives, or Kathy, and she hears them talking, she is much more ready to get up and join us than if it's just me saying, "Hey, sweetie, why don't you get up now?" She responds to those people that with that love of a child, uh, love of family. So I'm looking at bringing these social factors into play, but that requires, when she does get up, it requires that I don't just be in the same room, that I be prepared to be fully present.
I would like to add, Frank, I don't think this is necessarily, probably wouldn't apply to dementia, but many studies have been made that people who have a vital religious belief, live it, get sick less often. They respond quicker and heal quicker and live longer than people without religious faith. This is pretty well established. Johns Hopkins University, hospital, and so forth, pretty well established. So I do think there is having faith and religion in an active way does contribute to longevity, health, and recovery, prognosis, diagnosis, and all that together. So another study.
And that's good information, and thank you. Now, at this point in the conversation, I'd like to backtrack. And Tom, I was when John joined me, I was starting to explain to people what some of our conversations have been, and that we use consumer level technology that's accessible to all. This is currently a free Zoom account, and there is a bit of a learning curve, but it's doable for me, and would I think be doable for many. There are other alternatives, but to be able to have, my Uncle Kenny used to, for many years after he retired, he would go walk across the street and go to the Dairy Queen
Mhm.
about 6:30 in the morning and meet with a couple of people, 5 or 6 old farmers that he had known his entire life. And they would talk about basketball, or they would talk about whatever they, uh, you know, knew that was going on in the weather, or talk about each other, I guess, if one of them wasn't there. But uh, that sort of conversation is very difficult to have in our current world. But while a Zoom conversation might not be as fulfilling as meeting with these old friends in person, it's better than not having the conversation at all. And so I'm in a position, I'm interested in promoting uh, the responsible use of media as opposed to doom scrolling on Facebook. I think Facebook is to some extent, it can be very harmful. I think social media can be addictive, uh, but so can various drugs that used properly are life-giving or quality of life-giving. So if we can find ways of using media responsibly, we can avoid the addictive effects of it. And there's an impact on the actual structure of our brain uh, from this media. So, given that, I'm looking at how to redesign our lives, and that includes a potential move to where we have a granddaughter, a daughter, a granddaughter, and great grandchildren that we would be able to see daily, and a bit of a smaller community, and a church life that we could participate in. Uh, Especially, I think Barbara with her daughter, uh, because I'm involved in a digital church here with Faith Presbyterian Church in Indy. But redesigning our life so that the life affirming things that are possible, we can bring as many of those together as possible and just see, we're all going to die sometime. That, unless Jesus comes to collect us in person. And I think this theology on that might be a little bit iffy, but what do you think, John, on that theology?
Frank, I was just wondering, when you said digital, what capacity do you function in the digital sense there in your church?
Well,
I know you do so many things digital, just wondering.
the
What
church,
do you do there?
yeah, partly with my encouragement when COVID hit,
Mhm.
and people couldn't go to church, they started live streaming the church services, and uh, they put them on Facebook. I suggested that they start sending them to YouTube as well, which they subsequently did. And once they got them going on Facebook, I started sharing the church service to my personal page to a group called Westminster Indy, Westminster, Indianapolis Presbyterian Church is a church that I belonged to most of my adult life on the Near East side of Indianapolis, which closed its doors after I had moved to Castleton. And the day they closed their doors, I showed up for church, and there was a note that said they had gone to another church that some of the remaining members might attend. And I knew I didn't want to do that. I had passed the Presbyterian Church, Faith Presbyterian, at Hague Road and 82nd Street. And I thought I remembered that they were starting the service at 11. Westminster service had been due to start at 10:30, which gave me a half an hour to see if I could get to Faith if my memory served me right. My memory did serve me right. I arrived right on time. We walked in and sat down, and that became our home church. As it turns out, they had supported our little poor inner city church and the ministries that we had developed there over the years. So I would share, when they started the live stream services on Facebook, I would share those on my personal page. And then I had a Facebook page for Westminster Indy, kind of a page dedicated to the people who had attended and wanted to stay in touch. Well, I started sharing the service to that page. And then I became acquainted with a pastor, not a Presbyterian church, but a pastor, Brother Edward Wafula, in Eldoret, Kenya, through a series of unusual circumstances. I became acquainted with him and convinced in his worthiness, and began supporting him and his ministry. And he had a Friends of Ebenezer Hosanna International Ministries page that one of his people, Collins Wafula, had set up. Collins asked me to be the admin for that. So I started sharing to that page. So now the live service is shared to my page, which has like over 5,000 followers. Not obviously, not all of whom are going to be watching at a particular time, but it does happen. And then from my page to these other pages, and our services from Faith are heard in Kenya. They are heard by the people from Westminster who have scattered, may choose to listen to them. And they are on there's a place on the web page that you can access the sermons separate on YouTube, separate from Facebook. And that's important. I've suggested that they do that because not everybody wants to attend an online service. But if you have an exceptionally good sermon, you might want to share that to a friend by email, or by text, or to your social media account. So that's some of the things that we're doing digitally to use media responsibly. Now, I also should post my share of cat pictures. I'll admit it.
Cat pictures?
Cat pictures, memes, little one picture humor.
Okay.
And honestly, I think that is a great service because people need to laugh. My goodness, with the world is in the uproar that it constantly is, uh, anything that can bring a smile to your face or a belly laugh is sought after. And I really some of these things I also collect jokes and repost them, but I have rules for that. Nothing with sexual content. Nothing that is hurtful to anybody. I go for humor, not comedy.
I don't know, Frank. Some of them are so bad they do hurt.
I really like puns. For instance,
Uh-oh.
a horse walks into a bar. The bartender says, "What's with the long face?"
See what I mean, John? Some of them are so bad they hurt.
Okay, here's another one. Here's another one.
Uh-oh, now we've done it.
A horse walks into a bar. Bartender says, "Hey," and the horse says, "Yes, please."
See?
And a bear walks into a bar.
Oh,
Let's
no.
change up here. Bear walks into a bar, and bartender says, "What'll it be?" And bear says, "Club soda." And the bartender says, "Why the big paws?" And the bear says, "I don't know, just born with them, I guess."
And these are some of the better ones, John.
I love my sense of humor. I think I have a great sense of humor, and I'm I consider myself a full grown man.
I'll give you one. I'll give you one. A skeleton goes to the bar. He says, "Give me a beer and a mop."
Oh, there you go,
Okay,
Frank. The gauntlet's
How
been
about that
laid
one?
down.
yeah, I like it.
Oh,
That's good, John.
God. Oh,
I
dear.
got that from Al Pacino,
Oh, my goodness.
and
Oh,
he gives
goodness.
that all over the place, and everybody says, "Oh, not another one."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, God. Wow.
Hmm.
Oh, dear.
Well, let's move right along here. Uh, I am more and more convinced that the world can be improved a great deal and maybe a critical amount by uh, massive use of organic gardening. Now, you might think, well, organic gardening has been around for years and nobody has massively used it. This is true.
Well, yeah, I mean that it was done and nobody called it that because that's what happened.
I
Small farms and you know natural
small farms
fertilizer. Yeah.
using using some good traditional methods.
Yeah, we really don't realize how recent oil-based products, pesticides, they're they're rather recent inventions. They when agriculture went from the way you're describing it to the the industry when Earl Butt said get big or get out, plant plant fence row to fence row. That was the changes. Those were the changes that came at that point. They
Think of
were,
think of all the plastics.
oh, it's just, yeah, I mean,
Goes back
plastics
to
and stuff.
oil.
Yeah, we've got them in our, I mean, recently the study was done and we're all full of plastic. It's in our hearts. So, and they just, we don't know, uh, we don't know all the effects on everything that this is having. We just know that it's virtually everywhere now. But it made some people a lot of money and continues to, so it's gotten in place, and it's going to be hard to deal with. So,
And I think that it's important to remember that change does happen. When I was, and I've heard a couple of examples that I will share. One is when I was a child, people would be riding in their cars and just throw their trash out the window.
we saw someone do it yesterday, right out in the street, Keystone Avenue.
But how often do you see that?
Well, I see the results of it because I
Yeah.
walk a lot,
Yes.
and I see the results of it every.
But that's one example. There was a major change in lifestyle for many people.
I think it's a little better than it was, don't you think, Frank? What do you think?
I think it's a lot better than it was. It may not be as good as we want it to be, but
Well, I think there's so much trash now
Oh, yeah.
to be pitched. That has an effect.
that has
All
an
the, all the material that one receives in an automobile, there didn't used to be that much, plastic, such, but that has an effect as well. But I do know what you mean. I remember the days of, give a hoot, don't pollute.
another example of change, and this is a big one. Cigarettes.
No.
Remember when every living room had ashtrays?
Oh, yeah.
And when they started saying, no, this has got to change, and getting that health information out, and then setting no smoking areas, and then buildings that you couldn't smoke in, and then increasing the taxes on tobacco. Now there's still people that smoke, but look at how different the world is. I grew up in a household filled with smoke, and it's probably affected my health in a really negative way.
I too.
Yep.
And
Yep,
it's
me too.
amazing. It's amazing how the change has taken place without necessary, direct ruling in law. Somehow, little by little, the message got over. They used to think, well, we can't have a bar or we can't have a restaurant without smoking and all this. Can't do it. Well, gradually it changed.
Yep, sure did.
How this could be with human nature being what it is, with the people that were against the virus, the vaccinations, so rebelling against that. If you had war, you give up a lot of things. Remember World War II, you gave up a lot of things. Where you work, you may have to work in a factory. You can't take that other job,
Yeah.
But today people think, oh, but we were at war with that virus 19.
What other changes would make a difference in making a sustainable future?
Our economic system. We talked about this before. It's not a new concept. Our economic system.
We have people that say that the only thing that is wrong with the economic system is taxes, that we tax too much. We have people that really advocate for that, big corporations that, and we have people advocating for growth, and they build rationales on this that I don't find really. I find them interesting, but I don't find them compelling. I think that for what it's worth, we have to have strong leadership, or a combination of strong leadership at the top levels, and a willingness at the grassroots level to make changes that make a difference in sustainable futures. Now, how do we do that? And what are the changes? How do we change capitalism? I'm not sure. And in some ways, and capitalism is incredibly efficient and productive. People,
But it has the seeds of its own destruction.
well,
That's, yeah,
You take it the 1900s, Teddy Roosevelt recognized at the time of the 1900s who pretty much ran the country.
right,
J.P. Morgan.
yeah,
And you had the big corporations. There were no labor unions. Child labor, women were treated, couldn't vote, and they sweat their lives out in garment factories, monopolies. And so Roosevelt told J.P. Morgan, we're going to have to get together. And Morgan said, I'll send my lawyer over to you. He says, no, you're going to come over and see me, period. And so Roosevelt really set the stage for all the things that would follow. And you know how the unions had a horrible time they had in organizing and bursting the unions by big corporations, and the battles that went on there. And of course, we must also recognize how corrupt the unions became later.
yes.
So you got problems on all sides there. But also, he saw the need for Social Security. Teddy Roosevelt, not just FDR.
Right.
And so what came with FDR then was need to help the aged, the blind, dependent children. And let's see the fourth one, dependent people who, then later on, if you lost your job without your own, doing, then unemployment compensation for,
Yes.
certain people. This came along later. What would we have today without Social Security, without health insurance? That all goes back to Teddy Roosevelt, believe it or not. You had none of these things, none of those things. So, and if you have all these monopolies, what does that do with competition? The point of part of the point of capitalism is competition. So it destroys seeds of its own destruction.
Well, there's a common thread with the big corporations and a lot of naturally conservative, low-income people, and that is, two people getting chased by a bear, and one of them says to the other, we can't outrun a bear, and the other one says, I don't have to outrun the bear, I just have to outrun you. And I think that sort of thinking is kind of a problem, because we are all connected. We are all part of one big